on Macklemore Avenue, this theater had gone out of business, and it had been sitting there for a while, and somebody got the idea and came to Jim Stewart and said, you know, this could make a really good recording studio because it's big, there's a lot of room, you could do a lot with it. And so he went to Miss Axton and he said, you know, we've got a chance here to buy some good real estate, or at least lease some real estate and so forth. He said, but we're gonna have to come up with some money to get it. And I think she got interested when she said, is there room for a record shop? And she knew she wanted to be in that part of town, which was South Memphis. She made the decision to put a mortgage on her house and lend them the money to get this, to acquire it. And so they had a studio in the back, which fortunately I was actually asked because I was around. We helped take some of the seats out of that place, and I remember Packy and I with two hammers trying to hammer down the bolts that wouldn't come out of the concrete so they could get carpet down on it and not leave lumps in the floor. At that time, we were still Satellite Records. And if I have the story correctly, whenever we finally came up with a decent song, which later became Last Night, it was on its way to being a pretty big record. Somebody sent them a legal letter saying, you'll have to, you know, stop using this because we already have Satellite copyrighted. And we just said, oh, you know, and I remember that it was just devastating. And they sat up all night long trying to come up with an idea for it. And I don't know whose idea it was to come up with S-T-A-X, Stewart, short, Axton, Stewart Axton. And that was Stax. Instead of S-T-A-C-K-S, as S-T-A-X, it worked out pretty good. Our lead singer in the band had gone to art school, was a very, very good artist, contemporary artist. And he drew the logo for the label and all of that. Later, he did a lot of album covers for us and stuff for the studio and so forth. So we were on our way. And that probably, the first real hit record they had was Rufus and Carla. There was a song called "'Cause I Love You." And it was a duet, and I think Carla was only about 15 or 16 years old at the time they did it. But it was a pretty good record for the label. That sort of got the outsiders interested in, these people may know what they're doing down there, let's check it out. And then when Last Night came around, it really did, because that record went to #3. And that was in '61. In the summer of '62, we had Green Onions, which was a #1 record, and that really got us on the planet. And a lot of interest from New York, from Atlantic Records, and they started immediately bringing artists down and wanting more product. We would go to different colleges, and we'd go to Detroit, and we'd go to Washington, or we'd come up here to UT. And see these kids doing these different dances. And Al Jackson was really a genius at watching what these kids were dancing to based on what he was playing, and he'd sort of like lean into their direction, and he could tell when they really were getting into it. And he'd come back to the studio on Monday and say, guys, we got to do something with this beat because that's what they're doing at so-and-so, or that's what they're doing. And it worked. And so we'd start writing songs, the guys that wrote, we'd start writing songs that were designed around those beats. And it worked. It was a very good formula, and like I said, timing is everything.